Oh. Hey.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, we're back with another episode of Walkie Talkie today. Today I got the homie Jaylin. Jaylin, say what's up.
Hey, how's it going? Hola.
Can you introduce yourself? Let people know who you are.
I'm Jaylin. Jaylin Deshawn. I am from Fort Pierce, Florida, the 772. What my photography is? I don't know. I just come out here on the street and try to make something that looks cool, I guess, you know.
How long have you been in New York?
I'm coming up on my second year of being in New York. Yeah, June 1st will be my second year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're like relatively new to the city. Like
Pretty
relatively
new to the city. Yeah, pretty new.
Did you come to New York for photography?
Yeah. I was, I was sitting in Fort Pierce in my mom's crib, sleeping on her couch all the time, and I was super depressed. So I started like watching the Walkie Talkies and other street photography videos, and I was like, I think I could do that. So I came out here with a duffel bag and got an Airbnb and just hope for the best. So it's working out so far. So.
Where are we at today? What's our route?
Right now we are in Herald Square. I always start here. I don't know, it's the most comfortable place for me. We're probably gonna go up and then down and then back up, around. I don't know. We're just gonna get lost and hope to see something cool.
All right, let's go.
Yeah. Let's go?
Let's go.
All right. Photography. Oh, I love photography.
I want to get this out of the way because I feel like one of the questions I always get is how does this person, in this case you, make a living off of this? How do you make money off of this?
How do I make money off of this?
Yeah. And do you?
I don't.
What's the reality for you?
I have a day job. I have a day job that involves photography. It's cool. But yeah, I don't know how to make money off of photography. I used to try to early on when I first started. So I would do weddings. I don't know. I would just try to do different things, weddings, headshots, corporate stuff, whatever. And I feel like I never figured out the business side of it.
Talk to me about Fort Pierce. Like, so you grew up in Fort Pierce. What was it like? How did it kind of lead you into photography?
So Fort Pierce was very boring. I don't know, Fort Pierce is kind of like a place where people go to retire. So it's part of the Treasure Coast. So Treasure Coast mixed up Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie, and I think Jupiter as well. And all those are like 45 to an hour above West Palm because no one knows what Fort Pierce is, right? So it's a very boring town. There's not much to do. There's like a mall, there's Walmart, and there's the beach. So that's pretty much all you really did. Just go to the mall, go to the beach. So I stayed inside the house a lot actually as a kid. Played a lot of World of Warcraft and other video games of sorts. When it came to photography, I didn't really get into photography until high school. I wanted to be a director. So I had this plan to go to like film school. My mom bought me a camera and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And the film school didn't work out. So I was like, well, now I have this camera. I should do something with this camera. That was a pretty good shot. I should do something with this camera. So I started taking portraits of my friends. And I was like, okay, cool, I could be a portrait photographer. And then that turned into, well, let's be a fashion photographer. And I was like, all right, I hate all this. So.
Like, how did you get to street photography from those two?
Street photography landed right on my face. No. No, street photography showed up in my life like, let's see. Okay. Street photography showed up in my life probably like 2000. I want to say 2022, maybe. I think I was just on YouTube because I love YouTube. And I saw that like Daniel Arnold video where he was like running around at some point, photographing with Vogue. And then that led me to your channel. That just led to so many more, like Dido and all the other like big names of street photography. Yeah, I feel like the one thing that really led me, like the biggest thing inside myself though, that really led me to wanting to figure out street photography is that I felt like I kept getting burnt by trying to chase after like portrait fashion work. And when I moved back to Fort Pierce, the landscape kind of changed a lot. It was becoming more busier. A lot of people were moving there during COVID because it was really cheap. My family, my sister started having kids, and I was just like, I feel foreign in this place. Like I want to learn more about this place. And I felt like the only way that I could stay sane at that time was to just go outside and photograph. So I was just walking around. And at that time, I put together this really crappy zine called As I Walk, where I just walked around the city with this little tiny Konica C35 and a Yashica mat. And I just took like really shitty photos. And I was like, okay, well, this is me experiencing and getting to learn this place that I, you know, as a kid, maybe I was scared to like be outside and involve myself with, you know? So now I'm here. And that's kind of why I moved to New York, because I felt like I needed to get better and more comfortable interacting with people and photographing strangers. So I remember there was one time I like got the courage to go up to these two dudes. And I was like, yeah, man, can I take your photo? And they're like, bro, what the fuck, get off my yard. Because Florida has a stand your ground, or not stand your ground law, but they have like a castle doctor-in-law or whatever. So like, someone just fucking comes to your property, you have the right to defend yourself. So I'm like, maybe I can find a better way to like approach these things and have a body of work to show people, etc. Yeah.
Well, okay, so that zine, As I Walk,
yeah.
What did you learn about that, like yourself or your work, or what did you take away from it?
Well, I learned that I love to be outside. Because like, you know, we walk here all day, but this city's kind of like designed for that. Fort Pierce is not fucking designed for that. Dude, there's no sidewalks in some areas. So you're just on the street. You're walking through like cracked up roads and walking in grass and all these things. So I just figured out that like I like to explore. I liked walking around. It kind of brought back photography for me. During COVID, and like that whole COVID time of my life was rough. I was going through a breakup. I was super like sad. I would just sit there. I had all my cameras on like the little shelf where the TV was at. So I would like wake up every day and see these cameras just sit there. I was like, man, I should do something, bro. Like I don't know. I can't just sit here and keep like watching YouTube and days are going by and nothing's changing. But now I want to go back and finish that project. So I think As I Walk was like the first step into something. And now I would like to make a larger project of Fort Pierce, photograph my family, get closer with them. Like that's one of the biggest goals with photography, I think. It's like I can at least give something to my family, my nieces, my nephews, because like I don't feel like as a person I have much to give. So it would at least be cool to like showcase like, hey, you can do something with yourself other than, I don't know, the traditional things that everyone does in Fort Pierce, which is just sit there hoping that they can get out one day.
Have you been back since to kind of shoot and spend time photographing? Once?
Once. I went back in April last year during Passover, because I had time off from work. And I think I took my best photos during that time. They're mostly photos of my nieces and nephews, but it was also like the first time that I got to hang out with them and just like connect as like the uncle, which I always felt like was kind of like hard to do. But those photos are great. They're so good. Like, one of them is my wallpaper. I look at it all the time, and I'm just like, oh man, I can't wait to go back and keep doing this. You know what I know something crazy about Fort Pierce? This is one thing too that really made me be like, I can photograph this place. Alex Webb photographed in Fort Pierce. There's a photo that Alex Webb took inside of like a corner store in Fort Pierce. This little kid's like jumping up. He's like all blurry. He's like kind of jumping into the camera. I think there's a car in the background. The colors, of course, are beautiful. In my opinion, like the area where I was staying, where my family grew up, like it still feels like that area in that photo. I saw that and was just like, whoa, this man came here and did this? I live here, I should be doing this, you know?
So what's the rub? What's the kind of obstacle that's preventing you from going back more often and putting hours towards that?
I'm broke. Dude, this city is so expensive to live in. Like I knew that coming here, but whew, I don't know. There's like two things. Financials, of course. But I think the most important thing is like, if I was to commit to go back for an extended period of time to do that work, I want to make sure that like I'm in a position where mentally, where I don't fall back into like this boredom or like this sadness because I'm not able to do the same things I'm able to do here, you know? So it'd be great to be able to like boop, 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 bounce back and forth to do that. But that costs so much money to do. Maybe grants. Maybe I should start applying to grants. But I don't know. It's a confidence thing too. Moving into that world of where you're like, okay, I'm gonna apply to these grants and I'm going to try to, try to do something with myself as a photographer. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm there yet. But yeah, imposter syndrome, it kills. Like, I think there was a time where when I first came here, when I first started to like take it more serious, where I felt a little bit more sure of myself. But I was really honest with myself at the time that like I was trying to fix my broken ego that was destroyed from my breakup, from my living situation. Now I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of existing. That's the pessimism. All right, I'm gonna do a quick little 16 for Paul. This is Brian Park. No, stop. We got Brian Park, we're doing street photography. Something lography. I don't know. I can't rap. That's why I do this. My pen's not good. But yeah, to finish that thought that we were having, I think I'm very goal-oriented, but I don't complete my goals. That's the problem. Or I complete my goals and then it takes me a long time to figure out the next goal to work on. Biggest goal was to get here, and now I'm here. And it was like, okay, now I want to do a show. And then I did a show. And then it's like, okay, now what? So since then, it's just been a now what type of situation. The only other goal that I have is to go back and finish that project, but that seems more like a lifelong project than anything. Who knows? Who knows what comes in the meantime?
What about like overall goals?
My overall goal is to become the best. That's my overall goal. I want to be better than Daniel Arnold. I think most of my goals don't relate back to photography. I think most of my goals and most of the things that I internally think about and wanting to accomplish are always very self. One thing with being in Four Peers during that time is that I became very spiritual. I had a daily yoga practice that I never broke. I had a daily meditation practice that I never broke. I journaled, I did all these things that were very self-fulfilling and self-growing. And moving to New York, I have had a terrible time trying to find a balance in doing those things because it feels like the day here moves so fast. The days in Four Peers are very slow because not a lot is happening. There's so much that is going on here that you kind of have to be outside doing things or else you're going to feel, at least for me, like you wasted a day. I want to get back to that. I want to get back to being able to live in the present with a quieter mind or allow my thoughts to just be passing by moments like all these people that are walking by me right now. All right, I'm over standing. I hate standing. It's hard. Also, I love and hate the sun because I like shooting with the flash. I like shooting with the flash. So it's kind of hard to do flash photography when it's bright and sunny out. But it's nice to be able to shoot in range focus, especially when you can't see the patch on your camera.
One way to get around that is to shoot with a different camera that has a high sync speed.
Yeah.
So like, what led you to this camera, even though it kind of goes against what you want to do?
I like being different. That's it.
Devil's advocate, a lot of people watching the video are going to say, people in New York, everybody has a Leica.
Yeah, well, this isn't like a normal Leica. This is a blind Leica. So I don't have a rangefinder. But yeah, no, everyone has a Leica. When I first got here, I had a Fujifilm X-E1. And I bought that camera after when I first started finding out about street photography and I came here. $400 to have
What camera is that for people who don't know?
This is a Leica MD2. So this was made in the 70s for universities to attach to microscopes. I don't think the gear matters. Like, I think you just need to have something that feels good in your hand so you can have fun taking photos. If I'm not using this, I have a Sony point and shoot because I didn't want to buy a Ricoh. So Ricoh's too expensive. So I bought a $300 little point and shoot Sony camera that cooks. I tell you all the time, I'm like, a 1-inch sensor would do a lot of justice for you. You don't really need anything too crazy. Especially if you're like, people argue about printing. You can print big with a 1-inch sensor. You just gotta know how to print. And most of the time these photos end up on Instagram anyways. So it's on Instagram, who cares? Woo. I like taking photos of dogs. Never had a dog before.
What about color versus black and white? Everything you post is black and white. Mm-hmm. How did you end up with that?
I used to always shoot black and white. The As I Walk project was all black and white. But I would shoot color all the time when I used to do like the portraits and stuff, of course, right? And one day, I was actually here in New York and I was on a train with an old friend and this model. And she was looking at my portfolio and she was like, your black and white work is incredible. You should just do this. I was like, okay. I think color is really hard for me. I can see beautiful colors, like that light there looks great with the flag and everything like that. But I feel like there's always something that's like lacking a little bit with it for me. Cause I'll like get into that mentality like, oh, well, there's red here, let me just do that, right? Instead of like finding the emotional tone that's there, that's present with color, that I think a lot of great color photographers capture. But black and white, it's so easy for me to see action and events happening that I can just ignore everything else that's going on and just focus on that moment. All my favorite photographers shoot black and white.
With black and white, a lot of the focus turns to contrast and tonality.
Yeah.
Whose photography or how did you end up at the way that you edit your black and white specifically?
It's like this crazy mixture of people. So it's always just changing, but if I had to pick right now, like, let's say 3 people who are very impactful when it comes to my work, the first person would be Ernesto Brisson, Italian photographer who moved to Cuba and photographed Cuba. Incredible work. Larry Fink as well. When I found Larry Fink's work, I was like, oh my, this is what you can do with a flash? This is crazy. And then I think the last person, it's kind of hard. I don't know why I said 3. I should have did like 5. But I would just do a tie. I think the last person I would probably put in there, Bruce Gilden. I was gonna say Davidson, but truly Bruce Gilden, Kodelko, and Moriyama. So I think I've kind of like compiled all those people together to find out like what I want to do at my work. There's times where it's punchy flash and very aggressive, right? And then there's other times where it's like the flash doesn't exist, I can just use ambient light. Like, I think Kodelko and Brisson did a fantastic job with that throughout their careers. And then the other 3, of course, are all like very punchy flash, kind of aggressive at time photographers. So, but I don't really edit my photos. I cheat.
You don't edit your photos?
I mean, I edit them, but I don't like edit them. I cheat. I open up the Photos app and I press auto. And then I'll tweak from there. You're supposed to be in the dark room, dodging and burning. Why are you shooting film if you're not going to be doing all that? I don't darkroom print either. I inkjet print everything, man.
So those photographers that you named, are there other photographers that inspire you when it comes to content instead of just tonality and contrast, or are those one and the same?
Same.
Same.
All the same. Like, there's a lot of people I like. Like right now, I'm obsessed with Susan Meiselas. I didn't know who she was.
Oh, okay.
Magnum had this book signing event, and I went there with good friend Stock, and I'm sitting there in this zip-up like Fujifilm jacket, reading a Kodelko book. And this older woman comes up to me, and she's like, "Hi there, Mr. Fuji." I was like, all right, ma'am, sure. Hey, what's going on? She's like, you shoot Fujifilm? No, I don't shoot Fujifilm. Looking at the book, like getting annoyed. I'm like, so what are you, a photographer or something? She's like, yeah, this is all my work right here. And I was like, oh shit, let me put this book down and get to know who you are. She's like, yeah, I'm Susan Meiselas. I'm like, okay. She's like, check out this book right here. It was her book where she's doing like work inside of like sex club or something like that, right? And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So I bought her meditations book, which is like a book that talks about all her work through the eyes of like her colleagues and students that she had. And I've been reading that book and it's just been so like inspirational to me. So shout out to Susan Meiselas. I'm sorry for egoing you. Hey, yeah.
Empire State Building, is that?
Empire State Building. Yeah, it's I think it's this one right here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this one right here.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, of course.
We walk down here, we get a better view.
It's like when I came back from Fort Pierce in April last year, I photographed a lot of kids. So I was just like so hyped on photographing my nieces and nephews that I was like, I gotta keep practicing this. So I just photographed a lot of kids. I would like to get back into photographing the adults and the rich and all that stuff, but I gotta figure out how to get into those spaces.
Coming back from Fort Pierce, kids was a big trigger. What are like your other triggers that you kind of, when you see, you're like, oh, I have to take a photo of this?
Intimacy. 1000% intimacy. I was talking to this girl, talking to this woman, and she, I would send her photos that I took, and she was like, are you just gonna keep sending me photos of like couples? I was like, yeah. It's all I photograph, ma'am. I love your hair. Hair is amazing. Yeah, definitely intimacy. I recently became aware, thanks to Ruben, of Eve Lipman and Ken Graves and their book Restraint and Desires, which I've been trying to get that book. I asked for it for Christmas. My mom was like, I was gonna get you that book, but it's coming from Europe and it was not gonna get here on time. And I fell to my knees. No. But that book just like, it's perfect, you know? Like, it's not even about intimacy, but their photos that they both took just happened to catch that like, that weird sexual like tension that happens with everything. And I'm like, dude, that's fucking great. Like, photos of people kissing are always cool, but the photo of someone kiss like right before they do it, and that's like that moment, that's always, ooh, you know? Or the look that someone might give something, you know? Like that's, but I haven't got a lot of those photos yet. Sometimes it's hard. Dogs, for some reason, have been a big trigger. I keep taking photos of dogs. They're not always the best photos, but sometimes they're fun. And yeah, I think that's really it. That's not walk, that's run.
Let's run.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, go.
I'm being serious. Nah, I can't do that. I didn't stretch.
You're almost 30.
Hey, don't put my age out there, Paul. What the hell? Yo, bro, you've been following me with this camera for like mad blocks, bro. What you doing, man? You're really starting to freak me out, bro. Yo.
When you first moved here, you likely had this expectation of what it was going to be like taking photos on the street. And then there's like the reality of it that actually happened. What was like the difference between those two things? What was hard? What met expectations? What was easier than you thought?
What was easier and what was hard are the same things. Taking the photo. Easier to take a photo of a stranger than I thought it was going to be, because everyone's like New Yorkers are really tough and mean. No, they're not. I mean, things happen, but like, everyone doesn't have a gun on them. You know, there's some places in America where everyone has a gun on them. But it was harder to do that at the same time because it's like, you have to get over yourself. The one thing though that was like the best about coming here was the community. I felt like the community was very welcoming. Even though there are like a lot of people who are just kind of like out here and they'll be like so locked in where maybe they don't talk or they'll like look at you funny. And I'm like, what's that guy doing with that camera type of look? You know? But yeah, I think the community was like the best part. It was totally something I was like really missing in Florida. And then I came here and yeah, there's times where I felt like I was just like lingering around. But I think being out here and just being really dedicated to try to like make the work kind of made the community more accepting than just being out here being a fan, if that makes sense.
So a lot of people, I've got messages, people like, oh yeah, I just moved here. How do I like get in with the community, or how do I meet photographers? Or people visiting had that same question.
Yeah.
What was that process for you, and how can you like, what advice could you give to those people?
To go outside. I think you just go outside, man. People will come to you if they see you often. It's like anything. If you go to a space enough times, people will begin to recognize you. If you show face enough, people will recognize you and they'll like start to talk to you more. When I officially moved to New York, that summer, like yeah, I was applying for jobs, but every day for pretty much the whole day, I was outside taking photos. Just come outside, photograph, you see somebody, say what's up, keep it pushing, and eventually you'll have a friend. And that goes for everything in life. I like listening to music while I walk. Some good old techno, house music. But you know what I find hard about listening to music? Or not hard, but sometimes like ruins the experience with having music in your ears. It's the interaction. I think a lot of the best photographers talk to the people that they photograph. Well, not everybody, but they have more of those moments where they're like very personal with the person that they're photographing. People being me, so I can only speak for myself. I think there's sometimes a misconception that, you know, street photography should be just like stealthy ass experience where, you know, you're just kind of, you know, just hide and take photos of people and not interrupt the moment. There's definitely times where you can talk and be a part of the moment and something greater will come out of it. Like, I don't have too many photos like that, but I do have one where it was in the summer and I got off the train and there was these like bunch of kids outside of this pizza shop just being bad. And I took a photo of one of them doing like this crazy action. I like stopped and started chatting with them. They're like, what are you doing, man? You just out here bored? I was like, something like that. But it just kept playing around and I photographed them and only one of the photos, in my opinion, came out well, but I think that moment wouldn't have happened if I didn't stop and just start yapping. Cute dog.
Thank you.
You're welcome, bro. Parties are fun to photograph. I've been wanting to do that more, switch back, well, more into like club and party photos. That's like true fly on the wall experience right there. The thing is like I like going to parties and clubs. It's so exhausting. I might only be 29, but dude, I be feeling like I'm 45 sometimes. I be like, I gotta go to bed. My phone at 10:50 will tell me it's bedtime. And there's times where I'm like out past 10:50. I'm like, I should be in bed. This is gonna mess up my whole sleep schedule, man. I'm not. But no, I got to do it one time. I photographed in LeBain. And this is when I was like, oh yeah, the gear doesn't matter, man. This Sony is crazy. But I just sat there, flash off camera, and I was just like, let me channel my Larry Fink. And I was just photographing through it. I was just walking around, photographing, dancing, having fun. And I feel like some of those photos are like my favorite photos.
So what's holding you back from doing that more?
Myself. Everything is myself. Everything is always the self. because I could just go to the parties and talk to people and maybe get cool with like a promoter or something like that. But I prioritize my job more than I prioritize my photography, my photographic practice. That's the biggest hindrance right there, man. I gotta clock in to work. But what that means is I just have an imbalance, right, of my priorities. Because New York wasn't supposed to be the same experience that I was having in Florida. But here I am having something similar. It's always the self. It's always the self. There's never anything that's really hindering anybody.
Earlier, you touched on confidence.
Yeah.
And you also touched on you preferring flash photography.
Yeah.
How has the confidence of flashing people on the street changed in the past 2 years you've been doing this?
The first year, flash was like so easy. Whatever, boop, right? This year, well, the end of last year, beginning of winter, there was definitely like this weird feeling that started to show up. And I do think this is because I've found more appreciation for ambient light, where I was like a little hesitant to use the flash a lot. So since I stopped using it so much, I lost the comfort of using it. But I don't think the flash is it's aggressive, sure, but it's a split second. Flash is easy. F8, F11, 60th of a second, 50th of a second, depending on the camera. And you just point and shoot. I guess. So easy.
So you've mentioned in like crit focus videos that your first year of doing this, you've gotten into more than a handful of confrontations taking photos. What do you think was the cause of those confrontations? Because that's honestly not normal.
Yeah.
I feel like most people who do this get one confrontation every couple of years. So over 5 in 1 year is kind of aggressive.
I think it was the group of people I was hanging out with, which that group of people definitely made me a more confident photographer. But yeah, I don't know. I think there was something about just like an energy exchange, as the good homie Bolu would say. There is a level of arrogance that would happen in certain photos that would come across to people and rub them the wrong way. So they would have a negative reaction to it. I think there was days where maybe I came outside and I was just a little too upset, and would try to use this as a place to get out of my head and still be holding on to those emotions. And when I went to do something, I would respond to people negatively. And just reading the room wrong.
How do you think those situations or confrontations, how do those kind of change your approach, change your mindset to photographing?
Change my approach?
Yeah.
No change. Well, no change other than get over the fear. Be more appreciative of people.
So when you think about the photographer you want to become,
Yeah.
and you see yourself as progressing towards, do you feel like you're getting closer to that?
Yes and no. I think I'm there, but I haven't done a project yet to really test it, or I haven't made the attempt to go into a new venture. Even though photojournalism isn't what it used to be, there's still a part of me that wants to do an assignment. I think that'd be really fun. And I've been blessed with some editors' emails. I don't email them. I think I have the confidence to do it. I just am hesitant to do it. The photographer I want to become is definitely someone who's like one of the greats, like a Mazellis. One of the things she told me when we started talking after the fucking huge disrespect, she was like, don't think about what the photos are going to be, or if the project's gonna like turn into something great or grand. Just go out there and experience the world and photograph it. documenting. I think that's the photographer I would like to be. It's just the one that goes and does things. But I don't have a billboard. It's always been a goal. I want a billboard. Just give me one. I'll be happy. Something profound.
This is why you need to move back to Fort Pierce.
Either I'll move or I'll like get out of my own way and do the grant thing. Cause I think it would be sick to go down for like 2 months at least at a time. Everyone's getting old. And there's so many photos I want to make. Got a good photo of my dad. I have 2 good photos of my dad that I really like. Of course I want to make more of him. I want to make more photos of my mom, my grandma, my grandmothers. I can't wait for the comments. This dude's yapping. He's talking about talking to people and all he said is he likes somebody's beanie. He told a dude he had a nice dog.
How often are you getting critique on your work with your like peers and friends?
That's all that happens in critical focus is critique. It's always good though. I think we are a strong, opinionated group and we try to do our best to be critical, be focused on each other. Yeah, I'll send like shots I get from the lab to the guys and ask them their opinions on things. I do think I'm pretty tough on myself as well when it comes to the work that I create, which is probably a bad thing. So you can be too critical sometimes. Like I have this photo of, it was in Bushwick. It's a really moment of interacting with this family. They were hula hooping, and I was like, yo, let me try that, whatever. So I tried the hula hoop. I don't have the hips for it. And then the kids started doing it, and I like took a couple photos, took a couple frames of the kids. And I have one shot that I like. It's a little overexposed. Because of the overexposure, it makes the closest hoop a little hard to really see. But you get the gist of what's happening in the photo. Every person I've showed the photo to, they're always like, it's a little hard to tell they're hula hooping. And that's about me giving them context. So I'm like, well, you can tell they're hula hooping because you said that. I didn't say that, right? So it's like, why am I being so critical of this photo when it seems like everyone's still getting the point of it? Good ponytail.
So you just mentioned critical focus. Let's talk about it. What is critical focus? How did it start? Why did it start? What's the purpose?
Critical focus started on the street. We one day had a talk. I think it was me and McAndre and Bolu. We just started talking about the entertainment space online. We were like, yeah, something's kind of missing here. We don't really see a lot of people of color really showcasing stuff. So we were like, why not be the people to do that? So we started Critical Focus, and we had a bunch of ideas, and then we pitched the idea to Stock because he's a great filmmaker. But Critical Focus is a YouTube channel that is based around photography. At the moment, based around street photography and showcasing the world of it through the three of ours eyes. Very documentary style work, roundtable conversations. I know. I didn't see my flash. No! I've been having problems with the flash recently.
Obviously, YouTube has become something that a lot of people are starting to do, especially with photography and street photography. What's been difficult about it?
Having to dedicate time to filming. Because I'm sure you feel this way too, where it's just would be nice to not have to worry about the filming aspect of it and just creating work aspect of everything. Yeah, I think the hardest part about having a YouTube channel or trying to segue into being a YouTuber or whatever that means is having to just like think about the video. Would it be nice to just think about being a photographer? Because now you just can't come out and photograph the whole day. You have to like think about how the video is gonna flow and maybe take time to talk and set things up. And having that obstacle there kind of limits what can be made at times because you're focused on something else. Can I get your pup? Can I get a pup? No? Thank you. His little head is so cute. I like the hand.
You're in Trump country, and the black and Hispanic support is greater than the white support. You're in Trump country. Whether you like it or not, you're in Trump country.
Fun. You know what I never do is the...
Trump is doing exactly
Hopefully that turns out.
for. You're in Trump country.
That's one thing, bro. With the ego. So if someone like says something and it like kind of hurts my ego, I'm like, man, I'm gonna prove you wrong, bro. The best motivator. Doubt me. But it's so strange because I doubt myself all the time.
What doubts do you have about your work?
Well, right now I think it's repetitive. I think it's lacking depth. So like I was saying earlier, I got into the habit of photographing really, really close because I took a photo of, during summer, I took a photo of this father, uncle, I don't know, somebody to this girl. They were like play fighting over a water gun. I got low and really, really close to them. And I think that photo is really, really great. You're gonna understand what's happening, right? And I fell in love with that photo that I almost just kept trying to recreate that closeness with every other photo I took. So then I was like, okay, well, let me step back a bit and get more full body, so forth in the photo. I think I've done it a few times, but I don't think I've figured out how to do it properly. Robert Capa says, if your photos aren't good, you're not close.
How important is being unique or singular to you in your work?
We all have a reference. If we have a reference, it's still unique. It's important. Like, I definitely want to stand out from my peers. But I feel like the problem with the work solely living online is that there's almost like a formula that you have to do if you want to have like engaging moments with the audience online that kills the uniqueness. I saw this thing recently. I think this was on Reels, but it was a conversation. Maybe it was Andy Warhol. I don't know. Or it was a critique on Andy Warhol. And it was saying how capitalism and conforming to that, commercialism, destroys culture. And I kind of think the same thing kind of happens in photography, where you start to photograph for the engagement and the follower count, that your work no longer has that like value to it, because it's cookie cutter at that point.
All right, Jaylin, finish the sentence. I take photos because.
I take photos because I want to make my mama proud. I want to make myself proud. And I told my depressive self that I was going to make something of myself before life takes its course. Yeah. Is that it, Paul? I don't want it to be over. No. I want to keep staying in front of the camera forever. Paul, please, don't end.
Oh, it ain't over.
That's another one for the books, guys. Hey, whoa. Hey.
All right, that's gonna do it for this episode of Walkie Talkie. Jaylin, thanks for hanging out with me today, brother.
Oh, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. Do we really have to end? I feel like I'm doing a great job, dude. I'm riffing. No.
Let people know where they can find you.
Where can you find me? At the moment, you can find me on Instagram at Jaylin, I don't know. It's Yajlin. You can find me there. You can also find me on Critical Focus. On Instagram, it's Crit Focus. YouTube, Critical Focus. You can also find me outside, hopefully. Maybe for the next 2 months before I delete everything and I disappear off the matrix. Wait, Paul, no. Let's keep going. I don't want to stop. Look. All right, peace, guys.
Now when they see us in the...
What are these hands for, really? Destruction?
If you go to one of these
creation, masturbation. No, I was kidding. All right, here you go.
I think at this moment, lotion.
Dang.
Or a psychopathic activity of worshiping.
Cut it.
Now when they see us in the streets, all they wanna do is take pics, and I'm like, okay.